Good afternoon. Elevate your profits. Tom Ginn here. I'm co-hosting tonight, and we'll be bringing in my co-host here, Mark Gassert, in about 2 seconds. But the whole purpose of Elevate Your Profits is strictly for those individuals that may be in a business or looking to go into business, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs. Our whole mission is to bring great resources, people that have experience of success and failures in business, so that you can recognize, you're going to pull from wisdom, experience, to have a different perspective for success. Our whole mission, and I think it's appropriate to who our guest is today to use the word mission tonight. But I'm going to bring in Mark. And Mark, good evening.
Hey, good evening, Tom. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm really excited to introduce our guest here in a minute. But anything you want to say before we bring in our guest?
Well, I can't wait to hear Andy's story, Andy Weins. He's a no-nonsense guy. Like, I put out a couple tweets today, and really looking forward to hearing about his green up solutions. And he looks like a young gun, man. So kind of a scary dude, like we were talking. And I don't know, man. I think he'd make a great drill instructor myself, but I can't wait to hear his story.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he fills all those roles quite well. But I'd like to share a little bit before we bring our guest in here in a moment. I met Andy several years ago at a Wisconsin Veterans Chamber event. And I remember Andy coming into the room with his camouflage pants and his boots and all that. And that's sort of his brand. And you're going to have an opportunity to meet him. But he's also associated with a number of people that I know in the Milwaukee community. It's they're all about helping businesses win, individuals win. I'm going to let Andy explain a little bit what he does here in a moment. But everybody's going to be for a great treat this evening hearing Andy. So with that all said, I'm bringing in Andy. Are you ready, sir? Here we go. Andy Weins.
Hey, there's the man.
How we doing, boys and girls?
Hey.
Thank you for having me on.
Tremendous.
It's an honor to have you here. Being a veteran, I want to first say thank you for serving. I know Mark's a veteran. I'm a veteran as well, but I would really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. I know all the things you're doing and carving out some time to join our Elevate Your Profits. So, but what I'd like to do is, Andy, is just a little bit of background. Where are you from? Anything about your family. Where are you right now? What do you some of those type of things. Just a straight bio on you. Let you share.
Yeah, we'll get down. Yeah, no, we'll go down and dirty. I grew up here in southeast Wisconsin for the most part, Menominee Falls area, and then the northwest side of Milwaukee. My father owns a business. I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur. It's in my blood. Joined the military after high school at about 20 years old. I did the military thing. I've worked for small businesses. I worked for corporate America. And about the time I was 30, I realized that I was unemployable. I haven't had a job in 5 years, and I've been running companies ever since. So I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, I love what you just said there. Been gainfully unemployed for 5 years, right?
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't had a job, but I've never worked so hard in my life.
I love it. Love it. Andy, I met you, the first time I encountered you and met you is at the Wisconsin's Veterans Chamber.
Yep.
You did a workshop and those type of things. Are you still associated with that organization, helping promote veterans in business or support that mission?
No, actually, I'm not. Surprisingly enough, I'm not any way, shape, or form associated with the Veterans Chamber. I still work with vets. Actually, one of the reasons I was running late today is I'm still in the Army Reserves. I'm a career counselor, and I was sitting down with the troop that got out of active duty in January, and he's struggling with what that next career position is for him and his family. And so that's I'm still serving veterans on a daily basis, and I spend a lot of time with individuals, whether veterans or civilians, that are looking to get into business and, overcoming those hurdles and objections and really forecasting out what challenges they're going to face. So still very, very active in the community, but no longer affiliated with the Wisconsin Veterans Chamber.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing. You know, I think that's important. What you do is counseling, is that transition from and there's so much talent that they learn, or so much disciplines and resources that they gain from military, but they don't know how to apply it in the civilian world. Is that what you help them do? Is get their thinking, how they're going to take that structured disciplines they learned and apply it in the civilian market?
Yeah, absolutely. And I get rid of the word transition, and I hate the word transition in this time of someone's life, and this is why. Transition is a linear thing, A to B. You're transitioning through some obstacles, right? Transitioning through a kill zone, if you will, because there's a very important time in your life, right? Those first 90 days, 180 days back home from either deployment activity or what have you are very critical. And it's like anything else in life. I liken it to, or think about it as a transformation. One day you are a service member wearing boots. You got your name tape with your branch of service and your name, and you're good to hook. You know who you are. You have a job. You have a mission. You have a vision. You have troops. You have meals. You have all these things that are pre-designated, and you have to go and execute. And then the next day, you are a veteran in the civilian world. That's it. This is going from I'm in high school, now I'm a graduate. I'm in college, now I'm a graduate. I had a job, and now I don't have a job. Right? It's like that, and you think about it. You fantasize about it. You imagine how much nicer and better the civilian world is going to be, but at the end of the day, you still have to live with you. So it's a transformation and being comfortable with that transformation. I went to Iraq in 2006 and 2007, and I came home, and I didn't realize how much I had transformed, right? And you think about the hero's journey, and then you go from here, and all of a sudden you're on the bottom. Now you go through this dark period of time, and you come out, and you are different. So now you have to transform back into a version of who you were before, and it doesn't work. So what you have to do is you transform who you are today, because what you just said is key. You come back with skills, abilities, and knowledge, and a lifetime of experience that the people that stayed back home don't have. But if you don't apply it, you're missing the opportunity. And if you don't know how to apply it, you don't even know what you're missing. And so the transformation is critical. And I did a TEDx about 2 years ago talking about this critical period of time. And the title behind the TEDx was transforming your pain into passion to define your purpose. And that's for everybody. Everybody goes through those periods. And it's not just the military, it's not the veterans. If one day you're employed and the next day you're not employed because you started your own business, you have to have a transformation of thought. Because in that regard, right, you go from being somebody else's responsibility to now you're responsible for everything. And everything's your fault. So, as you talk about, primarily your audience here is business owners or people that are becoming business owners, you went through that transformation of thought. And if you didn't, I'd argue you're probably struggling as a business owner.
Yeah, I would agree. Mark, you got any questions right now? Or
oh yeah, absolutely. I think what you're doing is great as a career counselor. My question is, Andy, how do you go about getting people to adapt, improvise, overcome? You mentioned that application process. So when you're having, engaging face-to-face conversations, what are some of the things that come up, like when you're dealing with people? Like now I'm in the military, like you said, I had a rank, I had responsibility, I had all this, I had a uniform, everything. Now I'm out, and now I'm trying to figure out, where do I fit in? I've got these skills. And what I'm hearing you say is you kind of propose things in a way that they can think about what you're telling them, to say, hey, this is what you have in front of you, and this is what you can do. And how do you get them to understand that process? Yeah,
absolutely. So a couple things. Right off the bat, I changed the vernacular. There's certain words you're not allowed to use when you're with me, right? Just like in the military. In the military, for example, when someone says can't, right, drill sergeant's going to fix you quick, fast, in a hurry. Say, no, what's the last four letters of the word American? ICAN, right? I can't, right? Have that attitude, right? And also use the word, one of the words I heard you use, and it's a twitchy word for me, is deal with, right? We in the civilian world, in all worlds, right? We deal with people. Well, as soon as you change your vernacular to, instead of deal with people, right? We work with. right? Well, I have to deal with a shitty customer is different than, I had to work with an unpleasant customer, right? I changed the vernacular. And so often in the military, right, the words we say, the thoughts we have govern and drive the consequences, repercussions, the emotions, reactions we have. So I changed their mindset by saying, okay, this is how it was, but it's not there anymore. If you want to go back to active duty, you want to go back to deployed, go back there, right? But then you're going to take all the problems you have today back there with you. Or you have to look at what it is. And now we have to focus on that. And the first thing is, right, before you look at, right, when you ever talk about the military, we talk about an azimuth, right? An azimuth is a line to get where you're going. Well, the start of the line is here, where you are today, who you are today. If you don't work on you and figure out who you are, your skills and abilities, those skills and abilities that transfer over, then there's nowhere to start. With the military, the simplest way of doing it is breaking it down into two columns, right? Because in the military, we like to break things down Barney style. And the Barney style is, break it down to third grade reading level. It's that simple. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way we look at it, a lot of the hard skills we learn in the military are non-transferable. For example, I was a Mark 19 gunner in the Army, which is an automatic grenade launcher gunner in the Army. I'm really good at it. However, no one needs that skill in the civilian world. Or I'd like to think no one needs that skill in the civilian world, right?
Right.
So I can put rounds on a target, but that skill is unnecessary, right? Thankfully, hopefully, let's keep it that way. However, I have soft skills. And in the military, we don't talk about our soft skills because those are the skills you learn by being on the street long enough. Those are the skills you learn by doing the right thing every day. The punctuality, the timeliness, the respect, the integrity, all those things that you learn along the way, those are the soft skills. The ability to do three things really well: shoot, move, communicate, right? Well, move and communicate need to be acknowledged. How do you work through problems? That's moving. How do you communicate through problems, right? That's effective communication. We talk about that in the civilian world, I say all the time, right? My girlfriend hates it when I use the word civilian world, but I still call this the civilian world because I've lived in a different world. It's a different universe. It just is. But in this world, how many times do we struggle with communication? In the military, we don't struggle with communication. We say things, people do things. Yay!
Yeah.
Right? That's it. That's
right.
it. So understanding. So to answer your question from the top, sit down and break things down simple and relatable terms, and also understand that right now here you have to reset your expectations because what you thought it was going to be like and what it is are two different things. So let's set expectations. And then understand who you are, what you bring to the table, what skills and abilities do you bring to the table that are transferable, and which ones don't matter to the average person. And then how do you effectively communicate those skills and abilities? Because that's where I struggled. When I came back home, 2007, I struggled in the civilian world. So what I do, I went and traveled the country with my buddy's band. And then I decided, I should probably settle down. I started working for my old man's company. In 2008, I bought a house. Life was good. I got laid off like everybody else in 2008, right? That was in that mid-20s, entry-level skilled position. And in 2009, I'm sitting there with a wall in front of me, and I don't even know how to tackle the wall. I can't jump over it. I can't run through it. I can't take down one piece at a time because I didn't know how to. And the reason I know how to was because I was saying to myself, I'm a combat veteran. I'm not dumb. Why can't I get a job? Well, because I didn't know how to communicate effectively my skills and abilities to a potential employer to buy my thing, or to a potential customer, because at the time I also had a side hustle and jobs, and I didn't know how to effectively communicate that. So that's the key. Who are you and how do you communicate that? Because if an employer or a customer, right, whether you're whichever way, doesn't know what you're selling, they can't buy from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got it. That's great. Great stuff.
Yeah, it would be an honor to sit across the table from being in that role, taking your advice and taking your clarity of what you're doing, because it does resonate in a way that people need to hear. What I got to ask you is, you grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. What's your family's businesses? What type of business?
My father owns a remodeling business, been doing it for 30 years, but I was originally born in Atlanta, and my father worked full-time building bridges, and on the nights and weekends, my parents built furniture, hope chests and baby chests and toy chests and rocking chairs and picnic sets. Like, they've always had a side hustle. And now my parents and I own a hobby farm together here in Mequon, Wisconsin.
Oh, wow.
And so that's all we know. all we know is how to work hard. You know, both my grandmother or my grandmother, my grandfather, my dad's side were entrepreneurs. They owned a farm. Their parents, one of them owned a farm, one of them owned a scrapyard here in Milwaukee on the north side on Richards and Capitol. It's in my blood. I can't shake it. And my mom, who grew up here in Brookfield, nice area of the town, her dad was the local dentist right here in Butler, about 6 blocks from where my shop is. So it's just in our blood. There are people that have a higher risk aversion than others, and it's in me. I work for other people. I did the thing. It wasn't a great fit for me. I like the higher risk lifestyle. I like working hard. Both my grandparents at their eulogies, on my dad's side, in both their eulogies, the same thing was said, was that the greatest compliment you could pay my grandparents were that their kids, growing up on the farm, were the hardest working kids around. We value hard work in the family I come from. Makes it very simple to be an entrepreneur. In the last 10 years, a lot of people go on Instagram and LinkedIn and they say they're a CEO of a one-man company and they think it's sexy to be an entrepreneur. I'll tell you this, ain't nothing sexy about being an entrepreneur. It is hard. It is a grind. You jump from one job to another. You wear 100 hats and you grind it out every day. And occasionally you got a couple nickels more at the end of the day than you started with. And if you're not ready for that, don't even bother learning how to spell the word entrepreneur, because it's a tough road. Now, if you're smart about it, you can make it a good road. And I love it. I'm going to trade it for the world. But the challenge is, if you're going to go do the thing, go do the thing. And that's another thing in the military. Either did or you didn't. You don't get rewarded for 99% in this world. You either did or you didn't. That's it. It's a 1 or a 0. Nothing in between.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's a great advice, is that people go naively into, we all have goals, visions, and dreams, but they're not clear on them. They don't know their why in life. There's a lot of things, and they, like you said, they got a CEO after the name for a one-man shop. That is a false illusion, and it takes a lot of work. I've been in business for myself, majority of my adult life since 1983. And what you say is true, but you know what? I love the hard work. I get up in the morning looking forward to it because I know the rewards, what I bring to the marketplace is the number one, improving people. And number two is, they pay me pretty good to do that too. But it didn't happen overnight.
I say back in '83, they weren't paying you that good.
No, not. I left that corporate world, and but I think that's wise advice, what you just said there. And I want to just acknowledge a couple people that came on. Robert Brooker, he's in one of our groups. He follows us quite a bit. Thanks, Robert, for showing up.
He's a Canadian.
Yeah, he's a Canadian.
Yeah.
Okay. We got Ron Goodwin. Mark, you know Ron pretty well.
Yeah, Ron Goodwin, Goodwin Graphics. Ronnie, man, I call him. He is the man that roots for the Boston Celtics, the Red Sox, Mr. Boston. But he's has a very successful business, Goodwin Graphics, and does a great job. I mean, Ronnie's well known in the community here. Virtually, I could mention other groups, the diehards and all that, and Megamind, and it goes on and on. Good guy.
And Robert, we're not ignoring you. You just don't want to interrupt Andy's flow there. So
yeah, Andy was on a roll there, man.
Yeah. You made that statement, family of entrepreneurs, hard work, no nonsense. You have a mission. You just roll your sleeves up and you don't quit until the job is done type attitude. When you recognize that the corporate avenue, why can't it get a job, wasn't suited for you, you had to go to the root values that you have for yourself. I would put it that way. So what was your first, in that experience in 08, I guess, was it 2008?
Yeah, end of 8, early 9. Yeah.
Yeah. What was your first business of your own? What was the thing that you did? And I know you've done several other things too, but share that story.
Yeah, it was called the Clutter Busters. I did junk removal in people's houses. I had a knack for scrapping. I grew up scrapping, which was taking apart, faucets and lock sets and doors and things of that nature that came off of job sites of my father's. I knew the value of precious metals, brass, copper, stainless, aluminum. And then I figured, hey, there could be a business here. People pay me to do it. And I did that. I was basically little old ladies from church cleaning out the garages and sheds and helping them move, and transitioned into, some larger jobs. I started cleaning out, full houses. I got involved with a couple of people in the industry. And then from there, that's actually how I got recruited into the corporate America. I got recruited then into work for Waste Management to run a biohazardous, biohazardous medical waste treatment facility. And I just got my associate's degree, and I was going to college this whole time and doing a side hustle. And I had a full-time job working construction, but I always had that side hustle of scrapping and cleaning out basements and garages and what have you. I worked for Waste Management for a couple of years. I saw the larger opportunity, and I saw there was a huge niche between, what Waste Management does and what, your local scrap hauler does. And there's a niche to provide professional services in the junk removal or waste removal industry. Did that, and then I got into environmental consulting, and now I primarily do environmental consulting on solid waste, and then also some other products that are that are good for the environment, but there's not nearly as much information out there as what there could be. So that's how I've transitioned through it, and so you go from scrapping to removing junk to environmental consulting, and then run the whole gamut, and then that turned into, now I also have a media production company because I knew the importance of video and videography, and so we have an entire business here in our building that produces raw and real content for individuals and businesses. So I'd say I'd had a plan, but I did. I had a 50, 60-page business plan, but when you put a little fuel in that fire, that engine pops off, and it's running 100 miles an hour, you just hold on some days. And then when it putters, you look around and figure out what direction do we got to take it, or do I got to go make another engine, or do I got to make another this or make another that? So do a couple different things, and then the goal now is that I'm in the position within the organizations where I can delegate the responsibilities by challenging the team to carry out my vision, and then that the organizations grow, and then eventually the organizations, when you treat them like an organism, they grow without you being the limiting factor. When you think about a lot of traditional org charts, it's like this. It's like, hey, guy on top runs the thing, and the soldiers and the middle-level managers and the VPs, they all report to this guy, right? That's what it looks like, right? And it came from the turn of the century, and what we use in the corporate structure, it came from the military, right? You got your general on top, you got your soldier on the bottom. That's it, right? And the general's not the first one to see the battle, right? It's like this. The soldiers go see the battle. Go, die in the front line. I'll be back here.
Yeah.
See you later, right? But now with the organizations we run here, we treat them like an organism, right? So they're living, they're breathing, they're expanding, they're contrasting. You have a nucleus, right? Your values, your beliefs, your key leadership. But you have this nucleus where in the business are allowed to expand and contrast. So in years like 2020, right, we were expanding and contrasting. And sometimes you have this little pod of things that are working here, and they break off and they became their own little business. And so that's where I've been successful. A lot of business owners, they struggle because they want to do 100 things and be everything to all peoples. And I'm the same way. The difference is I have to recognize, is there revenue there? Is there a business there? And test it out when it's cheap. Test it out. It's I'd rather make, $110 mistakes than one $10,000 mistake. So make those $110 mistakes, learn along the way, and then let this business go be itself. So I'm in a position now where I oversee about 5 different small businesses, 4, I should say, not 5, but 4 businesses, and then I'm part of a 5th one being Young Guns, and that's a really good place for me to be because it scratches all those itches.
You mentioned something there, and a lot of people, I'm in the same situation. My wife and I, and what I do, we have 4 different businesses working on our 5th. And people say, how do you do that? But if you look at people that are doing anything significant, they're doing it for it. And I want to go back to something you said as a business leader. You didn't say anything about a goal. You made a comment about vision. As a business leader, I see it all the time in my coach. I do personal development coaching, and people get hung up on goals and processes. But what I found out is if you don't have a clear purpose, a vision of the outcome you seek, and what's your contribution to this world, if that's not clear, goals don't work.
That's correct. The vision is the elephant. The goals are each individual bite. And you have to have benchmarks. You have to hold people accountable. You have to have goals within the organization and say, did we or did we not make mission? However, what is mission? And what is the vision? The goals and benchmarks are great. There's plenty of people that, they measure KPIs, but so what? I think it's important to have KPIs. If you have KPIs the first day of your business, you're focusing on the wrong shit. That's it, right? You go and do the thing, and eventually you'll learn what's important, right? The only KPI that should matter right off the bat is how much money you're losing or making. That's it, right? If you understand your P&L and your balance sheet, that's good enough, I think, for the first 6 months, maybe in first year. And then you have some benchmarks. Then you can say, okay, we did this. Well, do we want to do that again? Is that what success looks like? See a lot of businesses in CEO roundtables and whatnot, they're like, we're going to grow revenue by this. Okay, cool, fine, awesome. Why? If you grow revenue, is your margin going to stay the same or is it going to not? Are you in a scaling position within your business? Are you looking to sell it? Are you growing it for growing's sake? Does adding 20% revenue increase your bottom line? What does it do to your profits? Right, all those little things, right? Because it's so attractive to have this big number on top. Myself too. It's like, oh, let's hit this sales goal. Well, we hit it. A, were we more profitable? Not always. B, were we more successful? Were we happier? What is our success, right? My vision and my success is simple. People say, where do you want to be in 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is? Simple. I want to be at the shop here and I want to be responsible for nothing. I want to be able to do what I want to do every day. I want to go places and say words. And I joke, does that mean I'm a full-time keynote speaker? Maybe. Does that mean all the businesses are running themselves and I can just come by and hang out and, bullshit? Maybe. Maybe I'm in the back and I'm responsible for one little area of the building and that's all I'm responsible for because all the businesses are just screaming and doing all the things they're doing. That's it. My version of success is I do less, right? I'm a delegator by trade and I do less because once this building is fully functional and all the businesses are doing well, I'm going to go buy another building and go take another project because that's how, I bought a building and then the next year I bought a farm. Why? Because that's what I do. I relearned how to drive a tractor this year because that's what I wanted to do. On a Saturday, if I want to go to the farm and raise chickens and drive a tractor with my daughter, okay, that was my success. That was it. That's success. No one's calling me on a Saturday. There's no emails I have to answer on a Saturday, so I can go have a little hobby farm with my daughter. Okay, that's my definition of success. Some people's definition of success is to take their, 5, 7, 10 vacations a year or whatever it is. Some people got to make 6 figures. Some people, whatever. You have to define that success individually and then cast a vision for the organization. How does the organization meet with your personal definition of success? And if you don't know those things, that's fine. You can be in business, but then how are you going to know whether you're successful in your business?
Great point, Andy. And that's one of the things that it's missing. You sit on boards and roundtables and masterminds. And so the thinking many times is skewed. It's not conducive to success. Most people have everybody has their own definition of success. But something I learned being a personal development, number one is know your vision. Hiring your people to your vision is a critical thing. How do you go about that? What do you share your vision with them, your passion, your purpose, and how do they buy into your vision? Because everybody has, when they come to work for somebody, they always the underlying is what's in it for me, right? But how do you get people to really buy into your vision? What do you look for?
No, I love that. Everyone listens to the same radio station, WIIFM, right? You just said, what's in it for me? And and I love that. And there's no shame in that, right? I am very transparent as to what my definition of success is. And I challenge the individual members of the organization to define their success. I can sit down with 2 candidates for the same position. And I can say, what does success look like? One person will say, I want to work 60 hours a week and get 20 hours of overtime. I don't care if I work Saturdays, I'll work as much as I can. The other person wants to work 40.5 hours and wants off, and wants to work 4 10-hour days. Great. Let's just have that conversation, right? Those are for your more entry level guys. But then even as I hire people that are in middle-level management or even VP type positions within our organization, hey, what does success look like? And then, right, because it's about the people and then it's about the process, then you compensate them accordingly, right? If someone wants to be, hey, I just want to work, sounds good. Here's your hourly pay. That's it. Someone says, I want to grow the business and I'm committed to the business. Okay, here's your salary. Hey, I want to be committed to the business and this is my long-term deal. Okay, now we're talking profit share. And if someone's bringing something from the outside that you don't have inside, well, now let's talk equity. And let me compensate you accordingly. But I'm going to compensate you based on what your definition of success is. One of the challenges I think we have in the civilian world and in the military, to be transparent, is that we all too often want to treat people equally. Well, people aren't unequal. Our goal and our obligation as leaders is to treat people fairly. We should treat people, all people, customers, employees, vendors, peers, superiors, subordinates, whatever, right, fairly. Because what motivates one person might not motivate another person. You might want to have one customer that wants their hand held through an entire project or process and wants the updates every day. You might have somebody else that says, just tell me when it's done. I'm one of those, just tell me when it's done kind of guy. I don't like warm and fuzzies. When people ask me how my day is, I'm wondering if they're about to break some brand new. I don't want to talk about the weather. I don't care how my day is. Whatever. That's not interesting. But now fairly is, okay, what motivates you, customer or employee? Okay, now let's do that. Like Robert just popped up, right? This is the much preferred word, fairly, right? So if Robert, for example, let's talk about Robert for a second, right? If Robert was one of those guys that wants praise and admiration for everything he does, hey, good job, Robert. You did great. Keep doing the good thing. Let's reinforce the positive, right? And if Robert's one of those people that just wants his time off, be like, hey, Robert, you know what? We're going to give you consistently make mission. You have the autonomy to set your own hours. We had a guy that recently started for us. He's in a senior role within our company. And I said, we don't offer PTO. It's that simple. I'm not going to give you PTO. Because if you have to figure out when and where you're going to be off and you can't do your job, you're not the right person for this job. And he kind of laughed. He goes, okay. He goes, well, I want to be out early on Friday afternoons. I said, okay, well then be out early on Friday afternoons. If everything's done, I don't care.
Right.
Now, would I do that to somebody that's an hourly employee? Probably not.
No.
Right? What motivates individuals? And if you can't answer it and you can't, as a leader, tell people those things, right? Emulate the behavior you want to see. If you're not that transparent with people, then you can't expect them to be transparent.
Absolutely.
You have to set the stage as the leader. That's your obligation. That's your obligation to all three levels. It's the organization, it's the team, and it's down to the individual. It's your obligation to be transparent about what your vision is, your mission, and your definition of success. And then allow them to share their vision, their mission, and their definition of success. There's so many times where employers and employees have all this conflict because they just never had this conversation.
Right.
Yeah. Conflict negates everything. It becomes a spiral downwards, and it's a lose-lose for everybody down the road.
Yeah.
So,
yep. I also, going from the military, you said one of my favorite words, conflict. Well, I love conflict. Love it. Right? I don't like controversy. And the reason I say I love conflict is, right, in the military, for example, sometimes when you are outnumbered, the best thing you can do is initiate contact. Right? Sometimes, even if you don't have fire superiority, initiate contact, right? It's a surprise hit and it allows you to retreat or whatever, right? There's a reason to initiate contact. And if you do have fire superiority, you definitely want to initiate contact, right? We have more people than they have. Well, as the boss, you have fire superiority. You are higher in the food chain. It is your job as an employer, the boss, the leader, whatever, right, to initiate conflict. If you see challenges in the organization, call it out. Yep. If you're the one that screwed it up, call it out. Hey, you know what, guys? I did this. This was the result. This is what I needed to do better. Okay, are we all on the same page? Let's move forward. Right? If you can have that conversation, This is what happened. This is how I contributed. This is how I'm going to change my behavior. If you can have that honest conversation with yourself, your superiors and your subordinates and your peers, and everybody had that within an organization, and there was pure transparency, no one held grudges, no one had this sidebar, pairing, side talk, right?
Right.
But everyone just owned it. Right? Hey, I'll do it. Hey, Tom, I ran late today. So I did that. I ran late, which caused our live stream to be 11 minutes late, right? Moving forward, I'm going to do a better job managing my calendar. And if I don't, fire me, right? No, it's hard for Tom to get mad at me now because Tom will be like, okay, I got it. I'm not providing excuses. I'm not blaming, right? That above the line, below the line, right? What is it? Blame, excuse, denial, right? We're not living down there. It's ownership, accountability, and another word I can't think of right now, right? We got to live above that line. Hey, this is what I owned. And when you have employees that can come to you and say, hey, I screwed up. This is what I did. As a boss, you're like, oh, that's not a big deal. All right, whatever. You learned, kind of good. Now, if you find out and you figure it out and you got to go figure out who did something, Jesus can't help you at that point in my organization.
Oh man.
Oh man, that's what I love about you, Andy. There's no mixing of your words. It's clear. That comes from, that military. There's no ambiguity. My language is my
ambiguity.
Yeah.
Ambiguities in the messaging. So everything's clear. So, and I think that's where a lot of people want to be warm and fuzzy and
right.
all those type of things. And if you're going to run a business,
but it fits our culture. It fits our culture. Even when I talk about Antidote Media Group, that's the name of our video company. We talked to a customer today and we just said, hey, you know what? We've had 3 calls. We don't think you're ready. Let us know when you're ready. I don't care that we have a contract signed, right? If they're not ready to shoot a video and we're not feeling confident, I don't give a shit about a contract. I don't want to waste any more time, energy, or money chasing somebody down, trying to come up with an idea, right? So that's fine. We go, bye, right? When you can fire customers, and it's not mean. Hey, you don't have what we need to make you successful. I'm not going to do a project that we're not proud of.
absolutely.
There's no shame in you can fire customers, and you have to have that transparency. That's our obligation.
Right.
If we talk about creating real and raw content, well, we better be real and raw in our communication with our customers so that their content is consistent with the messaging that they want to portray. We have to emulate what we expect.
It's so true.
Go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say, could you tell us a little bit? I know Tom knows this, but for the audience, Andy, tell us about Young Guns, its mission, what you do within that organization.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So Young Guns started, Paul Newberger will say it started in his idea. And really the mission of Young Guns is to provide access and education to entrepreneurial-minded individuals. That's it. That is my version of the mission statement. I can't even tell you what the mission statement is, because that's what I do for that organization. I'm the operations guy. I partner with David Bellman, who's our CFO, and Paul Newberger, who's our CEO. And he said, it really started with, we wanted to be those that provided the stage for others. We realize in the keynote speaking world, it's a small world and it's a well-connected world. And instead of sitting there competing with other keynotes for the same stages, why don't we just build another stage? Right? That's it. Be the solution. And so we built the stage and we built the platform. So we have YJTV, which is a weekly program that comes out on YouTube, where we feature business owners, keynote speakers, CEOs, and other thought leaders on 4 different programs. And then we have quarterly events where we bring in speakers. The last format we ran was really successful. It was a workshop followed by a panel and then finally a keynote around a centralized theme. And our goal is to not make it all about us. We build the stage and we give it away. What that allows is for people that were in my position before I started doing keynote speaking, and I didn't have anyone calling me looking for me. Now we're calling people. Hey, we look up to them. We want to spend time with you. We want to give you the stage. We want you to, ignite your influence with others. And that's what Young Guns is all about. We have a tagline that we break the rules of business. And when we announced earlier in March that we were going to have an in-person event at the end of May, we got some crappy emails from some people, but so what? We said we're going to have an in-person event in May. I can tell you, there wasn't a mask to be seen. People that wanted to be there showed up. They're ready to go. We're smart enough business owners. We're always thinking 30, 60, 90 days out constantly. Within our own business, we're thinking 3 to 5 years out, but within trends and different things, we're thinking far out. And you take a risk. We said we're going to have an event May 27th. Whether anyone shows up or not, we're going to have an event. 150 people later, we weren't the only ones to show up. And so you have to have that mindset as an entrepreneur, and that's where we're at with Young Guns. Not only do we say we're going to break the rules, we say come join us breaking the rules, whatever the rules are. Sometimes they're your own rules, the own limitations you put in your head. You got to break that crap up. Those self-limiting beliefs, they only limit you.
You hit it on the nail. That's one of the things I really work with in my coaching is to let people explore that their limiting beliefs are holding back. Many times they don't believe it. It's just culturally programmed, their belief systems. And once you get it, it's amazing what happens. Yeah. I attended both of your Young Gun events. As a matter of fact, Paul, I'm associated with an organization. You may know Chuck Harris and EIB Excellent Business. We do a once a month thing, sort of the same thing Mark and I do, but we bring in people. It's all about the, but I tell you what, Paul, his vision, David, yourself, let me tell you, anybody that's out there, I know you're going to do a lot of streaming and what do you call those hybrids, live and hybrid. Is your reach just here locally, or you're looking to build the Young Guns outside this geographic region, or what's that vision?
The goal right now is that we build it here. The goal is that we build it here in Southeast Wisconsin, connect people in Southeast Wisconsin. We certainly have the capability of doing, whether it's a hybrid event or a virtual portion of it. And we're like the last one was more virtual, where you could enjoy virtually, but it wasn't a hybrid wherein the in-person attendees and the external could blend. Well, for the most part, it's in person, right? That's where we know the rubber meets the road. That's where we want to be. We also see an opportunity there. If we look at a lot of chambers have folded up, a lot of networking events were already on their way down before COVID, and there's going to be a real demand for networking events. But it can't just be show up, have a crappy sandwich, and get a 30-second plug. We have to add value. And so we see a real opportunity by having local networking events. Paul was very successful and is very successful in one of his businesses, C-Suite for Christ, where he built it here locally. Over 3 years, he built it, and now it's rolled out nationally. It's like anything else in business. You have to crawl before you walk. You got to walk before you run. And with Young Guns, although we've done a lot so far, there's no doubt about it, I think we're still just crawling. And that's very honest and transparent. Right after 2 years, there are still things we're crawling at and we're figuring out. And that's a good place to be, because not having the answers is a really good way and a good place to start. Right. Now, when everyone thinks you're killing it and you think you're still crawling, that's also a very good place to be, in my opinion, because that shows how much more we have to offer, how much more value we can provide.
Yeah. Andy, I have to ask this. Those are out here outside our geographic region. They can find your content on YouTube. Is that correct?
And that's what YGTV is all about. YGTV is the far-reaching place, right? That's why we have both verticals within the business. We have the content, education content, and then the events. So all the events are geographically restricted, and we'll have a virtual option. We've done virtual events, but moreover, people wanted to be live in person, and we might do a hybrid function with this next event. We just really haven't settled on it yet. We have a meeting here in the next 2 weeks here. But yeah, I would encourage people to go to YGTV, and then as part of the YGTV, once you connect with people, people that are part of the movement want to associate with a lot of other people. There's a lot of people on LinkedIn that are just spamming you and trying to get your inbox. Right? We know that. However, if you see someone that's on YGTV, that's someone that wants to connect with others. And if you shoot them a message on LinkedIn like, hey, I watched your episode of YGTV, I can tell you, when people actually take the time to watch some content and have some context as to who you are, then they're more likely to engage with you. And again, that's going back to one of our two pillars, right? It is about education and access. We know all too often as business, it's about who you know. And so we're putting the people that we think are the people to know, we're putting them on blast, and we're encouraging them and others to interact. And most of the guests that we have on YG, they're looking for more exposure. They're looking for more people to engage with. They're not people that are just sitting in their basements, in their closets, launching content and hiding behind their Instagram celebrity status. Those aren't the people that are really, in business.
Is that the appropriate there for YG TV? And it's on. You just go to YouTube and do YG TV, and they'll find all those interviews and forums that you run there. Is that correct?
Yeah. If you type Young Guns and then YG TV, it'll pop up on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know the exact link. I'm on my mobile. I can drop it for your audience here.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. It's a wonderful forum. It's much needed.
Yep.
Yeah. So you started in the what do you call that when you sort valuables out of junk?
Well, I started scrapping. I started by scrapping. Breaking apart precious metals. I got into full junk removal, turned into waste removal and understanding the entire waste industry. Transitioned into environmental services, right? Environmental consulting. Kind of promoted myself up within that industry, and then I changed industries, and now I'm in media and marketing. And I find, and I'm still in the environmental consulting world, but I find both of them extremely enjoyable and interesting and fascinating, and they scratch different itches, right? When you're an entrepreneur, you always want to do the next thing, and now you got to make sure you're right. Your businesses are right before you jump. But yeah, there's a couple different industries, and I find them all interesting. And there's other industries I've dabbled with, and they weren't a good fit, and so I got in and I got out quick.
Okay. So what's on the horizon? Do you have anything on the horizon you want to throw out there?
No, really. Right now, it is about with Antidote. That's kind of a new baby, if you will, the new business. And proving out how repeatable that business is. It's been good. And it is good, but it's not even 6 months. So it is about with Antidote. I love creating content. I love proving to entrepreneurs that they are rock stars. Sometimes they just need a backup band, right? That's it, right? We are the backup band, sounds and lights guy, right? When people say, hey, what's your 10-second pitch? I say, hey, I'm Andy with Antidote Media Group, and I make everybody look sexy. And then they laugh and they say, okay, I want to be sexy. How do I do it? And I talk about, with a good camera, a good mic, and a great story, we can make anything you do sexy. If I can make junk removal sexy, I can make you sexy. But that's the next challenge, right? Is that repeatable? Can I make some unsexy industries, right? We work with IT. We work with an IT firm. We work with construction firms. We work with HR recruiting firm, right? Those are generally not sexy industries. But how do we make them interesting and compelling? That is what's interesting to me. So now it's my opportunity to take what I think I know about marketing and apply it to other people's businesses. It's one thing to be a consultant, right? Consultant, you can only take what we say to the bank so many times. However, when you start developing content, that is something that over and over and over can produce for those individuals.
Robert here's made a comment. Robert follows quite a bit, and so see what he has here.
Yep.
Being an engagement amplifier.
Yep.
Thanks, Robert.
Yeah,
Thanks,
absolutely.
Mark. Yeah. So, Mark, this first time you met Andy, it's there's no doubt that Andy's a get it done guy. There is no doubt in his communication. I've seen his videos. I've seen him on stage. I've seen him in events, and it's one of those individuals, and I just have to compliment on this, is you're a magnet. At least for me, you're the type of leader I want to learn from, so I just want to let you know that I've watched you from afar, and yes, it's an honor to have you on, especially I know some of your vision and the things you're doing. So I just want to let you know that. So. Mark, what do you
I
got?
appreciate that.
I just was going to say that, he truly emulates, good content, the way he handles himself. He's direct to the point, and what his message is. It's almost like, I hate saying this, but my dad had a unique way of putting things, and being a retired sergeant major, we never did not understand where he was coming from. I mean, it was direct to the point, and that was it. There was no stuttering or trying to figure it out. I was just going to ask you, Andy, what rank could you share with us? What rank are you?
So I'm a sergeant first class, E7.
Okay. Oh, cool.
So I love where I'm at in the military now. Because I'm still close enough to the troops where I can make an impact, but I'm also high enough on the food chain where I can make an impact. If that makes sense,
right?
Once you get above, once you're E8, E9, I think you get too far away from the troops. So I'm in a very good position within the military right now, and I had that conversation earlier today that I could be promotable to E8 to Master Sergeant. It's not that interesting. It isn't. I like being at the ground level, and that's that. A lot of times in my career, I've always like promote, take the next job. And I think if I took the next job in the Army, it wouldn't be fun anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm very happy with where I'm at. And so it allows me now to perfect my craft. So where in entrepreneurship and the businesses, I always want to chase the next thing. There are times in business where you are in sustain mode. And that's a beautiful place, because then your true potential comes out. Because you can just exist and you can focus on this. There's, very one idea versus, what's my next rank? What's my next position? What's this? What's that? No, it's be the best at what you do. And now it's to a point where, the work becomes very simple because I know a lot of the answers to the test when people come to me, but it's just as rewarding because every time you get that aha moment out of a troop, that's the payoff.
Absolutely. That's right. I think that's a reward of being in leadership, when you fulfill somebody's goal or they fulfill it working with you and they get it the first time, they get it. And that is the greatest reward, no matter what the economic return comes from that. That blows blows my hair back. But what I heard with you, E7, you want to be as close to the troops in your military, right. But that also translates, you want to be as close to your troops in your businesses as well. Even though you have a vision they can operate, but you still want to be knowing what the troops go through, right? You're not just one of those leaders say, do it because they told you. I've done it. Let's roll our sleeves up and get out there and get after it.
No, I mean it's whatever, 6 o'clock here Central Time. I'm still at work and I still got work to do. That's it. And I wouldn't have it any other way, because you got to be with the troops. There's some, for me at least, there's some people that don't. Some people that can go out and delegate from a distance. I'm not one of those. I got to see it. I got to feel it. I got to touch it. I'm a kinesthetic learner, and I'm very aware of that. At one point, I owned 9 businesses across the country in 6 different states, running a franchise operation. And I was in and out of O'Hare every other weekend, flying, and I was miserable. Right, I had 100+ employees, and it did not work for me. Right, my definition of success, I got too far away from my definition of success. I thought, okay, if I go make a bunch of money, I won't have to worry about money. Well, if the money didn't matter, because I wasn't happy in the moment. So for me, I need to be with the troops. So when we're talking about antidote media, I don't know much about the tactical execution of videos. That's not my strength. But my strength is being involved with the customer acquisition, being involved with the projects, being involved with the release of the material, and the content, because that's what's interesting. If I see a piece of content and it doesn't move me, then we miss the mark on that piece of content, because I watch a lot of content and I know what strikes and what doesn't. And so that's how I stay involved, even in a business like that, where I don't have much tactical knowledge. There's other people that want to work just on the business. I would love to work in the business all day. I have to pull myself out of the business in order to work on it, because I'm in love. I'm in love with that process. I really am.
Well, I think what you just shared is you're clear on what fills you, and that's a role, and that's going to. there's other things you can do and chase, but it doesn't fill that core values, who you are, how you want to operate, and that's a definition of success. You're very clear on what you want.
Oh yeah.
It's taken years. I had to get to that point of 9, franchise locations in 6 states and a venture capitalist. I had to go all the way that far to be like, you know what, Butler, Wisconsin's not that bad. But I did it, and I scratched that itch. Got it good, right? I did it.
Right.
It wasn't ideal, so I went back to where I came from. And there's no shame in that. I'll talk about that all day.
Yeah. Well, Andy, I know we could probably take all sorts of topics and expand on them. And I really, I know, Mark, do you have any other questions? I'm going to close.
He's pretty much covered. Seriously, Andy, I just want to thank you for, you sharing with us and taking the time to do that. It is so refreshing to hear someone direct and to the point, and you're not arrogant. You just know what your purpose is. And to me, that is refreshing. There's no doubt in my mind, I would gladly follow you just about anywhere. Cause you're just that type of guy that I gravitate towards. You have purpose, what your mission is, and you get out there and go get it. And that to me is very refreshing in today's society. I mean, truly.
I appreciate that.
Andy, you do consulting and coaching in this arena. I always like to ask this. That's my forte is the personal development, understanding the thinking process that dictates the success or failures people have. In hearing you talk, who are some of your greatest influencers on innovative thinking or understanding the thinking process? Anybody you follow, anybody that you study, because I think that's part of it is that growth process. Anybody specifically that you just,
Yeah. I mean, if you talk about like people that I follow that I've never met or, just aspire to be like, if you will, Stephen Covey is up there, 7 Habits. I've been fortunate to speak with his son a few times on LinkedIn and just about that overall mission and understanding, how important, how critical that is. And there's people like Mark Cuban that I've been following for years. I love how obnoxious he is. I love that he just doesn't care. I mean, love it. Gary Vee, same vein with Gary Vee that goes out and does the thing, right? Those are the people that when I look big picture, long term, those are the people that I don't know if I say I look up to. I'm encouraged by their ability to go do, right? They just go do. And they're unapologetic. That's why I think they're so successful. So those are those are very high. I mean, Elon Musk, I was watching an hour worth of his content, just being a boss yesterday, but just being blatantly arrogant to people. And like, I love that. I love it when people are just that bold and blatant and transparent, because you know what, if 99 people go left and you go right, what's the worst that happens, right? You're wrong. So what? All right. Well, I should have gone left. So what? But at least you wanted to go see what was over there. But then locally, there's a lot. I got 3 or 4 mentors here locally that I wouldn't be the man I am today without their consistent support. Not just, oh yeah, they said one thing one time. No, they've put work in over years with me, and they held me to the standards that I set for myself. And so I wouldn't be there without those. And so some of those local faces here in Milwaukee area, Mervyn Bird, who's with Vistage. He's done tremendous things with me years before he was with Vistage. The very first time I ever sat down and had a networking event, a one-on-one, I sat down with him. I said, what do I wear to a networking event? And I was wearing the camel pants. And he said, is that what you wear to work? Camel pants and a t-shirt? I said, yep. He goes, wear that. I said, okay. Like that was it. Like, and it's been 5+ years working with him. Guys like Pat Miller and I knew each other back when we were in our radio days, and he's been very influential because he jumped into business after me, and he kind of came to me first as someone I mentored, and then the roles have reversed, and now we're peers. We're both business owners. We both lean in on each other. Another guy, Brad Herta. Brad Herta was there the very first time I spoke publicly, and he said, "You didn't know anything you were doing." I said, "You're absolutely right. I had no clue what I was doing." He said, "But you had, but that was the beauty of it. You got up there, had to do a 10-minute pitch, and most people have like this pre-rehearsed whatever. I'm like, hey, my name's Andy, and this is my brother, and we got 10 minutes to talk about our business." and we just talked. We made mission, right? Like that was it. Like a lot of people are like, they get themselves all worked up. Like, I got a presentation this week. I'm like, well, what are you presenting? I got to talk about my business. I'm like, well, if you don't know about your business, no one else, like, if you got to sit down and write it down, you should be so in love with your business. You can talk about it for hours. Just, right? And if you're not in that love with your business, go get a job. Because you got to have that kind of love when things are bad. So anyways, like those are the people that were there at those critical moments and are still in my life today.
Yeah.
And so those three individuals in particular, and those are also the people that when I have my failures, those are the people I call. When I have my successes, those are the people I call. Right? Who is it? Right? I'll tell your mother, because I call my mom all the time. I'll tell your mother, who is it? Who's that first person you want to call when someone punches you in the face? Right? That's probably your mentor. And if you don't have someone to call when someone punches you in the face, take my number down. Call me. Right? Call Tom. Call someone here on this phone, on this call, will pick up every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Andy, I appreciate everything you did coming on here today. And, I look forward to your future events. I look forward to engaging with you in some other areas as well through Paul and David and those things. So I'm here to support your guys' message. Yeah, it resonates with me, and a lot of people need to hear it. And I'm going to put you back in the green room. Enjoy those M&Ms that you negotiated under contract. But I don't want you to run away. Just give us a couple more minutes.
No problem. I really appreciate it.
All right. Any parting thought before we put you in the green room?
Nope. I really do appreciate the time.
All right.
Thank you, Andy.
Well, it wasn't anything less than I didn't expect. It's exactly, more.
Yeah.
So that's why I was excited to have Andy on. Any closing thoughts for yourself, Mark, to our audience? And I want to thank Robert for supporting us and sharing this out. Ron Goodwin. And I know we had a number of people driving through here, didn't make any comments. So we appreciate all that. Just share. So anything else you'd like to share, Mark?
Just that I'm gonna really check out this Young Guns TV YouTube channel and get engrossed in it. I'll probably be, after we get done here, take a couple glimpses of it. If you don't get excited, all I can say is then if Andy didn't excite you, then you got to be dead from the neck up, because he got my motor running. So I really appreciated him sharing his story and, like I said, his purpose and what he's all about. And hey, man, U.S. Army has quality people. He's definitely that. And Andy, I will say to you, thank you so much for serving. We greatly appreciate having people like you in the military.
Great influencer for the troops and everybody out there. We just got one quick announcement. Mark, we didn't want to forget that.
That's
Every Thursday, we do a seminar, 30 to 40 minutes, how to create $1 million asset in 1 year. It isn't what you think. So here is the registration. Mark and I will, I do the presentation, but we'll start sharing with you what Mark and I are doing in our side businesses, our gigs that we're doing. But me being a financial coach, I apply these principles that I will share with you. If you don't understand these 7 principles, no matter what you do in life, in business or having a job, you will not survive financially. You'll be a statistic. And we're going to share with you how the 3.5%ers create a net worth of over $1 million. And it's no reason in this country that more people than 3.5% should not have an asset worth more than $1 million. So we're going to share some powerful principles from there. Any comments you want to make on that, Mark?
Well, I'll tell you what, every time I see that, it just reiterates and hits home, where we're at. And all I'm going to say is, and please don't get offended. I know some of you are entrepreneurs. I know some of you have maybe even multiple businesses, but you need to take a look at this, because if you really want to be true to yourself, and ask you these hard questions that, when you go through these principles and you look inside that accountability mirror, what Tom's talking about, I think you'll see some validity as to what's out there with these 7 principles and how it can apply to you if you choose it to. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to Thursday.
Yeah. And with that, Andy, before you just stay on and we'll wrap up here. Well, Mark, we're going to close it out. Again, thank all those that jumped on. We still have people viewing, and share this out. Andy put out a great message today. So with that all said, are you ready, Mark? I've got one more comment here. Who would have got here? Here we go.
I do want to take a look. I do have interest. Look at that, Robert Brooker,
all right,
man.
Buddy. All right, are we ready to roll?
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Mark, for being here tonight.
Oh, no, thank you.
Share this out. Turn on your notifications next week for our next episode. And we are going to close it out. Here.